I just finished The Trees by Percival Everett, and never before have I read a book that made me say, oh, he really went there, more times than I did with this book. What I'm about to say will be off-putting to some readers, but I would like for you to stick around and hear me out about what this book is about and what I thought about it. In this book, Percival Everett makes a complete mockery of white people, specifically Southern white people. Throws in every stereotype you know about white people and puts it into real characters, real storylines. And I think his goal is to knock white people down a peg. If you have some sort of reaction to that, listen to what this book is about and why I think he uses that as a story device in this book. The Trees is set in a town called Money, Mississippi, set in modern day. A murder happens where a white man is found deceased, and there is also a black man deceased at the scene. The white man has been pretty badly mutilated, and I'm not going to say any more because I think it's best to let the book reveal that to you. But then not long after, there's a second murder, another dead white man, another dead black man's body, except it's the same body from the first murder. So somehow this body keeps reappearing at different murders of different white men. As the story progresses, it's revealed that these original murders happening in Money, Mississippi are related to Emmett Till's murder. Then as the story goes on, it becomes clear that it's related to testing history of lynchings in this country, not only of black people, but people of Asian descent, Native Americans, and basically anybody who was murdered at the hands of racist white people. That is obviously incredibly difficult subject matter, but what astonished me about Everett's writing is that yes, it is very difficult to read about all of this, but also I laughed out loud at this book so many times, and it astonishes me that Everett was able to achieve those two things, to make me laugh and simultaneously make me just disgusted by history and modern day racism and all of that. Everett leans really hard into the racist white person stereotype. A lot of white people reading this book will be inclined to be like, well, nobody's actually that bad in real life anymore. And maybe not, but it can't be denied that racism is 100% still an issue in this country. And I think that he makes it so blatant and so overtly egregious for a reason. Do I think that Everett needed to go after white people as hard as he did in this story? I think so. Let me tell you why. I think that a story like this makes reading about these things and examining your own history and your own feelings and biases a little bit more palatable, because when it's kind of silly, it doesn't feel so serious. And even though I wish that every person reading any book about racism could take it 100% seriously and take every single lesson that an author is trying to give you, that's just not realistic. But I think putting it in a story like this and having the humor and the seriousness balanced so well really allows the readers to examine the terrible parts of the story and be like, yeah, that is awful. That is terrible. That needs to be acknowledged. What I can kind of compare it to, and this is going to sound crazy, but hear me out, is those cartoons we used to watch about how a bill gets made. Like, they put it to a funny song. It's very serious and important information, but they put it to a funny song. And so you can take it in and you can remember it. That this book and the story is so memorable that anyone who reads it is going to take in the bigger lesson within the framework of this unforgettable story with these characters that are such stereotypes. It's so funny. Sometimes humans are just simple and they need serious stuff presented to them in a way that feels a little more lighthearted. That sounds so weird to say lighthearted about a book with this subject matter, but you just have to read it. I do think it's important to say at this point that I don't condone Black people having to spoon feed white people stories this way. Perfect world, white people do the work. And so if I was Percival Everett, and obviously I'm not going to put words into his mouth or anything, but from my perspective, he wrote this book thinking, okay, well, either white people are going to get that this is a parody for a reason, that I'm trying to make them see history, or the other kind of readers are just going to be pissed off and not get the message anyway. And at the end of the day, it's not Percival Everett's job or any other Black person or person of color's job to force us to do the work, to see history for what it was, to see the ways that it's still impacting us today. But I think this is a powerful work for people to read. I think it should be required reading, in fact. So I don't want to say too much more about how the plot develops in the ending. I loved the ending, and it becomes a very brutal but beautiful redemption story, and really a way for Black people to own their history and not let it be forgotten, and call for change. So if this rambling review has made any sense, or you've read this book, please talk to me in the comments because I loved this so much. I can't wait to talk about it.